Artificial intelligence is extremely popular right now. In fact, some people are terrified that artificial intelligence is going to be the downfall of the human race. I'm Justin Hitt with the From My Desk newsletter, and I'm going to share with you how silly this is. So, I've had the opportunity to be a part of the dot-com boom and bust, mortgage crisis, a lot of bubbles. And usually at the beginning of one of these bubbles, you're going to have this is the newest thing. It's going to completely transform such and such. And there's like almost this pattern that goes on. And as a marketer, I've used these patterns to promote products and services. The key thing is that artificial intelligence is fantastic technology. It is amazing technology. It accelerates the ability for individuals to extract information. It has what looks like thinking to us. It's actually not thinking. It's tensor models building association patterns between ideas and concepts, and ultimately translating language into a response. Now remember, as I've said before, today's artificial intelligence will give you a response, not necessarily an accurate or correct response, but they'll give you a response very quickly. Now, in the world of content development, artificial intelligence can write halfway decent content. But someone who has seen a lot of the output of artificial intelligence will very often recognize the pattern in the content and realize that it's not really as valuable as you might think it is. It's very surface level. And there's some concepts I'll cover today that might help you understand why artificial intelligence can give you a message and it feels magical. The number one point is that it is really cool that you can ask a machine a question in a human language and get back a human-like response. The challenge is, though, when you understand how that works, it's giving you a patterned response, and because the people are selling the service of artificial intelligence, it's giving you the response that you, as the person who asked the question, is most likely to accept as a correct response. So very often you'll see the response repeat back your prompt. So your prompt, you'll give it a prompt, it'll repeat back the prompt in the context of the prompt, plus a little bit of new information, and it feels like, oh my gosh, this thing answered me in complete sentences and is magical. But really, that's how it was designed to work. Now, some AI platforms can make associations between concepts, not on purpose, but they basically can contextually come up with answers that seem innovative. And the reason it works that way is because our brains know it's a machine, and we know machines haven't been able to do this in the past, so anything the machine does that's better than nothing feels like something. And it's just the way it is. Once people are more familiar with it, they're going to get angry with it. I was using Google Bard, for example, and I was pissed at it because it couldn't answer basic questions. But it could answer questions about Google platforms and devices. So I could ask about popular keywords and concepts. I could ask about search terms. It knew that really well. It also did a really, really good job of identifying research papers with very high accuracy in a topic area. So if I said, hey, look, get me all the research papers that are about how humans interact with machines, it had a very high accuracy on getting me papers that actually existed, where ChatGPT could give me papers, but those papers weren't real. They didn't really exist. And a way to ask in your prompt is you can ask for the DOI URL. And so the DOI URL is the unique ID for that report. And then when you clicked it, it goes to an actual copy of the report. And so you can now know that you're looking at real stuff. So Google Bard has access to all of Google Scholar and a lot of stuff, and it gives you really accurate information there. But ChatGPT was built on a language model that may not have included that information, so sometimes it's going to guess. However, ChatGPT does a really good job of responding to prompts to give you creative information because it can synthesize fictional work. And again, fictional work doesn't have to be accurate, it just has to be interesting. So it's writing stuff that's interesting to you who asked it to write stuff within a certain framework. Anyway, the key is that artificial intelligence will help our ability to extract research information, to take graphs and charts and tables of data and put it into a visual format. Artificial intelligence will make it easier to query databases and to find what to identify patterns. So, for example, if you have ChatGPT, you have to prompt it to think about the U.S. Census data, or a specific set of data, and then you can ask it if it sees any patterns about that data, and it will give you pretty innovative like observations on the data set. You could give it a resume and ask it to turn the resume into a biography, and it will give you a pretty good biography. Knowing the context of the job titles, the companies themselves, will give you a pretty good biography, at least a starting point. I think what I want to share with you here is some key tips on how to make artificial intelligence work for you, rather than fearing what it does. Knowing that it's imperfect, if you can get some work out of it, it will save you a lot of time. Artificial intelligence replaces a simple administrative assistants that just do research. It replaces a lot of query language. You don't have to write SQL as much. It can go in there and do that. ChatGPT right now can do a great job in programming. I've had it. So we use in-house Jupyter to do Python and R related data science stuff. Like our topic testing method, for example, extracts all of the topics from YouTube and then runs some math against it and gives me an idea of which videos have the highest probability to create likes and subscribes. And then I can model off that data set. So ChatGPT helped me write that. I'm a novice Python programmer. I can read it once it's written, but I'm still getting used to all the tabbing instead of the commas and semicolons. But ChatGPT within one session did that faster than I could with Google search or the different Stack Exchange and stuff like that. The key is to first, number one, know the limitations of the AI platforms as they stand today. You can challenge the platform, but ultimately, if you know what the platform's good at, ask it what it's good at, and then focus on working within that context of its strengths. So, like I said, Google Bard did an incredible job with Google products and the data that's stored in Google environments, public environments, where ChatGPT did a much better job on the abstract thinking. And I'm almost saying, I don't want to say thinking, because literally it is a language model. It's got, I don't think I need to explain what a tensor is, but a tensor is like a cube of data associations, and then the connections between those objects is weighted with math. And so it's not actually reading your language, it's mapping your language to what it already knows about language in general, the English language, and then mapping what its contextual understanding there with the sets of data. And it does it extremely quickly. But again, know its limitations, know which platforms work best for what. I have found some writing platforms that work better for writing long form, and then some platforms that do really good for like writing up social media for us, because we're a small publishing company. We use the tools that are available. Number two is you want to challenge why you're using artificial intelligence. It's kind of weird that these platforms that are as powerful as they are, people are using them to write up short stories that they don't make any money off of. They're using it to entertain themselves. They're playing games with it, someone to talk to because they're lonely. Now, these have value, but again, it ties up resources for people doing research. The first chance I had to work with ChatGPT, I did actual contextual research. I wanted to figure out whether or not it understood human emotions. So if instead of asking it to write a buyer persona, I asked it about human emotions. I asked it about what influences certain categories of people. I asked if it knew about the Prism audience segmentation models, because if I understood it, knew what the model was, I can ask in fewer words and gain better context about individuals who might be a part of that model, or what are the audience demands. And it did a great job. I published some of that information on another article. So again, I want you to use these platforms for useful purposes, monetary purposes, but something that's going to enhance your skill set. Because number three, artificial intelligence is just a tool. When sewing machines first came out, people were afraid it was going to destroy the fabric of society, and all these women that were working from their homes were going to be destroyed, and the textile industry was going to fail because sewing machines were going to do the work of many people. Steam engines. People complained about steam engines. Early computers. People were confused about early computers. Actually, in the 1980s, when computers first came out for the public, there were all these concerns. But computers have been around since the 1960s. And so in my family, I've had the opportunity to use computers. My grandfather's a nuclear physicist, and my other family members had computers. I had a really good high school that had some computers. So in the 80s, I already knew a lot about computers. I was using Unix by like 89. My first job was in a IT environment as a systems administrator. I wasn't as afraid of computers, but I knew people, when I go fix their computer, were terrified. They were just terrified that they were going to have this word processor was going to tell them what words they spelled wrong. And that was such a distraction, which I do find it kind of a distraction. But it wasn't that the computer was the distraction. It's that they didn't have a writing process to get the most from the computer. So you want to make sure you're getting the most from the device. And number 4, the last thing is don't put too much credit into these platforms. As soon as they're done testing them, they're going to charge for them. So you have to be focusing on... So, for example, if AI can write content, and there's many newspapers using AI to write content. If AI can write content, then what value do you deliver when everybody has really good content? Okay, well, it's going to be you as a person. Like, what do you bring to the table? It's going to be the perspective of the organization. It's going to be how you use that content to help solve problems for your clients. When everybody can write really good content, or everybody can afford an administrative assistant, or every company has computers, or every company has vehicles that don't require hay and shovel and horse poop, you have to find a differentiating factor. So AI is going to come along, and pretty soon it's going to be utility. Everybody's going to have it, and still some people are not going to be successful because they're looking for the next greatest thing rather than getting the best and most powerful use out of what they have. They're still with the novelty of something rather than the utility of something. So these are real important points to consider when it comes to AI. I talked in the first part of the From My Desk program, that might be a link below, about how to communicate clearly. You can use artificial intelligence to look over your work and to tell you where you might be able to improve it, or to summarize your work so that you can get the key points out of it and build an outline. So you can do an audio presentation like I'm doing right now, get a really long transcript, and then turn that transcript into an outline. That's a very powerful thing. Another thing it's a very useful thing. Let's say you do a transcript like this. You can now have it write the summaries, the social media posts. You can have it at least get you a very good first draft of short articles and such. And now you can concentrate on the more valuable work, which is the video production or the not production value. None of my stuff has good production value, but making sure the content is valuable to the audience. And then from that, have someone else on your team turn it into articles and other materials, and then you go off and do something else. So artificial intelligence can be a time saver. It can really help you do things like manage your calendar, to set up meetings. But again, I don't want to replace a virtual assistant. I don't want to replace a junior level staff person in the office, because that junior level person is gaining skills faster than the AI platform can. And that individual, once I fill a role in the organization, there's an unlimited supply of individuals who can fill those roles if we have people in the pipeline learning how to do that work. So I'm a big advocate for mentoring people who are junior in your industry to compete with you, because you're going to use those skills of mentoring to level up yourself so that you're a unique character or a subject matter expert or a credible expert in your field. And then that way you now have people who are building you up and also kind of extending your network. See, an artificial intelligence machine is not going to extend your network. Artificial intelligence machine is not going to introduce you to new work. It's not going to do all these things that are necessary in a human environment. It will help you research stuff faster. It will help you crunch large amounts of data. But again, how are you using it? Are you using the right platform for your intended outcome? Are you adding any value to it? You can't just take the content as good as it sounds and spit it out someplace. It's not as good as you think it is. See, that's the problem with the internet too. When the internet first came out, you could ask the internet anything, and people asked it for pictures of monkeys throwing poop. They asked it for everything, and even today, there's a lot of low value distractions on the internet. Yet the internet didn't destroy society. If you had a problem watching YouTube videos today, you probably had a problem watching too much television in the past. It simply replaces something and increases the efficiency of what it replaces, but it doesn't completely transform the human experience changes, but it doesn't transform the fact that we waste time on things that don't create value. And if we focus on what creates value, the tools will take care of themselves. I think we'll leave it at that. I'm Justin Hitt with From My Desk newsletter, and this is likely also going to be a podcast episode for something. I can be reached at www.justinhitt.com. Go to the contact page and ask your questions. I'd love to hear from you because you guys shape what goes into future newsletters. I don't, the stuff gets on my desk because I take notes about what you guys are asking about, and then it ends up on my desk, and then we do the newsletter. So I'm here to help you transform business relationships into profits, and AI is a powerful tool that will help you do that if you use it like a tool rather than being afraid of it, rather than worrying it's going to take over the world. The Terminator movie, that entirely could happen with people instead of machines. It could be a metaphor for something else. But anyway, let's get the most from our tools. Let's learn to build relationships with people. Let's connect with other humans and go forward in this world, happy that we have the tools that we have. I want to thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to your questions, and I'll see you in the next episode.